And of course, industry's made major investments in new products and solutions to meet the government's requirements. And this has been an ongoing thing. A very dedicated and spirited group that's been engaged with government from the beginning, but certainly since the time of 9/11 and the implementation of HSPD 12 and all the other terrible incidents that have happened, over the last years. Obviously we're more concerned about protecting our government buildings, the assets, and of course the government employees. So, we're very pleased to be part of this presentation today to government. Hope you enjoyed all the technical stuff this morning. I'm not going to be quite as technical. I'm going to talk about resources. So, of course, outside the Washington Beltway, as you might have gathered from some of the prior conversations, there may be less knowledge about the resources, or even some of the requirements related to HSPD 12 and PACs. I see it frequently in acquisition statements of work that are put out there. Sometimes I see crazy things on FBO reverse auctions for PAC systems. Doesn't seem to be a good way to do it. We're often passing around to each other and forwarding up to our government partners that some of the things we see out there really aren't compliant, don't work. And so, of course, industry wants to be helpful and talk to you about the resources that we're part of. And so legacy and non-compliant systems are legacy systems are sometimes part of PACs, as Rob talked about earlier. But we are concerned about non-compliant systems being part of that. And of course, if you use the right resources, you might get it right the first time. So as we first look at the important mandates, and I'm not going to read this word for word or tell you guys what you should do, but obviously the Office of Management and Budget has directed GSA to take charge of this. And GSA has some wonderful resources and has the testing program for FIPS 201. And also, in addition to that, they manage the program that will approve the qualified individuals for the CSIP services that we talked about earlier. So the FIPS 201 evaluation program, as it relates to the Schedule program, and that's what I'm talking about today as one of the resources, they operate the program, and as the companies are tested and approved, they're placed on the GSA Approved Product list. And you can verify, if you're a contracting person, who's on that list as an individual or as a company through the APL, the products they're approved. And of course, that's located at idmanagement.gov. Don't forget that idmanagement.gov, because there's great resources on that particular page. And additionally, compliant services may be procured under the GSA Schedule program. Certified systems engineers, the ICAM PAC CSIP training and certification is recommended for companies providing PAC support services. If you want to utilize the Schedule program, I'm going to say this carefully. This particular point is long-winded. For your company to be listed on the Schedule program, you have to have an individual from your company that is certified, or you cannot be listed under the category for service providers. So the CSIP training, is important. Offered currently by the Security Technology Alliance. Of course, if other companies wanted to also offer that services, they could, apply to do it. But right now, the Security Technology Alliance is the group that does do the training as well as the testing. And at least one employee, and this is a requirement, from a GSA Schedule contract company must have completed the training and have a valid certificate. The approved service providers, which actually lists by the qualified individual and their company, can be linked from the idmanagement.gov website, which also links to the Security Technology Alliance website. So, the sources. Where do we find the PACS products and services on the Schedule program? So Schedule 84, which is the security contract, the total solution for law enforcement, facilities management, fire, rescue, clothing, all-inclusive program, has dedicated special item numbers to FIPS 201 compliant products, and that would be listed under special item number 246.35.7. And then for those individuals that are approved and have completed the CSIP training, they would be listed under SIN 246.60-5. Now, Schedule 84 also has other SINs that may be applicable to a PAC system. You know, they have cameras, they have intrusion, they have monitoring, you know, other services. And so all of this, you know, that might be required in your procurement buy could be procured from Schedule 84. And of course, you know, wonderful resources through this program. Also, Schedule 70 has SINs that are dedicated as well to PACS, and that would be SIN 132.62, which is for products and services to support the products. And then for professional services to support identity management, SIN 132.60F. And then, of course, Schedule 70 has other SINs as well that may be associated with credentials and digital certificates and other things that your company might, your agency might need. And, of course, other IT solutions. So there is overlap between 84 and 70. Both offer HSPD 12 solutions. And so, of course, if you're looking to determine who are the companies that provide these services and the products that you might need to purchase, you would use GSA e-tools such as the GSA e-library at gsaelibrary.gsa.gov. Also, a resource would be GSA Advantage, where you could look on Advantage and you can do keyword searches, and I'm sure those of you in procurement have done this before, but you can look up the names of companies or keywords, or if you have a part number, you can verify pricing. So these are tools as part of your procurement as you're looking for the products and services that would be part of your requirements. Now, I would like to ask you to consider the fact that there's overlap. And so as you put out your requirements, also think about considering teaming arrangements. Common thing under the Schedule program, common thing within each Schedule program, but as there's overlap between the two, certainly it's something to consider if you want to have a number of companies to be able to choose from for your solution. So, as a resource, of course, the GSA Schedule contract program. For those companies that are on there, of course, they had to apply first to get on the schedule. Or they had to apply for the SIN. Maybe they were already a contract holder. So it's way more than just being on the list, okay? GSA, of course, verifies that when a company submits a modification or a new offer that those items are listed on the APL. They verify that the company individual, at least one person, has the CSIP training to be able to be added to SIN 246.60-5 or 132.62. But GSA goes a step further than that, okay? And that is that they will thoroughly review the company's capabilities, their business status, their financials, and of course the companies have to prove that they have past performance experience in order to get on there. So just getting on the APL or the CSIP doesn't guarantee that they're going to get on the schedule. So GSA does a lot more vetting than that. And I can tell you that they also go back and they make sure that people's certifications are up to date, because I've received calls from contracting officers who say, Lynn, it looks like this certification is going to run out of this individual, and they'll send a letter and remind them. So GSA is really, you know, working to help the agencies to have a good source of companies to call upon, you know, for their procurement needs and making sure that they're qualified companies. So that results, of course, in a streamlined, process for procurement. I've been doing this since 1978, and I remember my first mentor said to me, Lynn, why reinvent the wheel? And of course, why reinvent the wheel when you're doing this? Why not use the GSA solution? That's what we industry partners believe, and we're a strong supporter of it. So another resource that GSA provides is a PACS ordering guide. And this was an effort for quite a bit of time with GSA and also industry helping put together this guide. And it's a great resource for procurement people. The website, gsa.gov, fire security. And what can you find on there? Well, you can find information on the PACS system requirements. And, some of the regulations that I quoted earlier probably be in there in a little more detail. There are frequently asked questions, some of the things we, talked about today, but there's questions in there that people typically would ask. And especially a procurement, person might need to know as you're trying to put together statements of work. Of course, there's references to, the products and services and where you can find them. But the other thing that's there is a listing of key GSA points of contact for help. And just because I can take advantage of it, I want to point out a couple resources that we happen to have today. We have Mr. Kevin Mitchell, who's the branch chief from Schedule 84. And we have Mr. Steve Bartley here in the front row, who's business development and case. And so he's very helpful as well. Is there anybody here from Schedule 70? So there you go. Okay. And sir, I was looking for you earlier. So this gentleman right here that raised his hand. Okay. Oh, hi, Daryl. How you doing? Okay. So the other thing that you'll find on the ordering guide is some important reference documents for the standards, but sample statements of work, different variety. So I understand you could actually go in and cut and paste from it, and that might be helpful. I've looked at it, and it looks pretty good to me. So, and of course, there's also sample systems designs there as well. So that could be helpful to you as well. So as we talk about sources and resources, of course, industry suggests using the schedule. Start with FAR 8.4. Use eBuy, okay? And also consider that there needs to be enough time for people to respond. There was a question earlier about should there be a facilities visit, a walkthrough. So again, recently, the emergency came out. Lynn, nobody's responded this by. What's going on? Well, they didn't arrange a walkthrough, so nobody knew how to respond to it. So good idea to have a walkthrough, good idea to allow enough time for folks to respond to the opportunity. Make sure that you realize that people are on both 84 and 70. And of course, make sure that you're using the approved products and approved service providers. So, industry's thoughts. GSA Schedule program, get it right the first time. Use program. Use the PACS ordering guide to help you. And of course, idmanagement.gov has a bit of information. We also think it would be a great idea to have a PACS BPA. So just a thought that's been discussed before, but, we think that could be a really good idea, for agencies to have qualified people. Not that you can't find them, but maybe just go a little step further to give some help in developing that statement of work. Please consider teaming agreements, okay? From the schedule program, you can make socioeconomic considerations as well as creative solutions to solve your needs and requirements. We also know that there's modernization coming to the schedule program. And that's exciting. Having done schedule since 1978 when I was 5, there's been some incredible changes, okay? And I'm always excited to see what GSA is going to come up with next. And I know it'll be innovative, and I know it's designed to, make it more simple. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. Get it right the first time. Use GSA. Questions? Yes.
I know there was a lot of work on that guide on
Yes.
how to buy. And I know that there's a lot of work on the recommended contract language. Has somebody scrubbed that recently against what the APL is trying to do to make sure that those design guidelines match what we're talking about today, or that the contract language matches what we're talking about today?
Kevin, can you answer that?
The most recent version of the fax ordering guide was just uploaded about 2 weeks ago. It's a fluid document, so as policies change, it's updated, and we update the website accordingly. So I know that the new one was just about a couple of weeks ago, but the most recent version of it was updated, and that most recent version was updated in July. So anything that's taking place between July and today, no, but up to July, it's correct.
And the contract language?
What's that?
Contract language?
Yes, yes, exactly.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, everybody.